Hey guys! So today you and I are going to talk about me. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Hi Frederick, where do you live? Please make a video about your personal life and the place. It is so cool. Well, I'm gonna try to make this about programming. So I'll give you a very brief intro to sort of my career and sort of what I do and things like that. First things first, though, I live in Sweden, which is a Scandinavian country, and the town, or like I live in Gothenburg, which is the second largest city, as far as I remember. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. And well, my address, I've posted that many times. So the video that a lot of people are referring to is the one that I use as just something to, well, you're probably watching it right now. It's a forest path that is outside of my apartment, maybe a few hundred meters from here. And for those of you who've never been to Sweden, it's a pretty decent country in many areas. Some better than others, and some really horrible. But one thing that there is a lot of is woodlands and stuff like that. So there's like, unless you live like in one of the central cities somewhere, you're gonna find somewhere to walk around in, like with trees and stuff like that. And that video, I can't. I can. People ask me like, what did you film it with and stuff like that. I don't remember, guys. I think I have. It's like a arbitrary, like one of those cameras that doesn't stabilization, and it was literally like just walked out, and I suppose I got lucky with the weather at that specific time. But you can go to like it's really not nothing fancy. It's not like a national park or anything like that. It's literally a few hundred meters outside of my apartment, and there are nicer paths than these ones. And Norway is also really, like, if you're into like forest walks and stuff like that, unless you're gonna go to like say North America, which has some, or Canada and stuff like that, has a lot of that as well. But Norway is really nice as well if you're into that sort of stuff. But I would say that Sweden has a claim to that too, and of course Finland. Like this, all the Scandinavian countries are very nice in terms of landscape and stuff like that, if you ask me, at the very least. And as for my personal life, well, what could be interesting to hear about me? Well, I am 30 right now. I'm 37, I think, 37, something like that. Was born in 87. 1987, and I've lived in Sweden. Like, I'm native Swedish. I've been living in this country for, well, basically my whole life. Not really lived anywhere like abroad or anything like that, although that would be very interesting. I find, like I've always said, that if opportunities arose where I had the option of going and doing a sabbatical or something like that, that would be really interesting to me, because I'm the sort of person who, I like to say that I don't really care so much which country I'm associated with or anything like that. For me, my people that I like to refer to, my people are smart people. People who are like, use rational thinking and are passionate about trying to make an impact and do things like well, and really care about the betterment and advancement of all people everywhere. And I've never found a country that would like have only those people. So it's all about the local stuff for me, like friends, family, and stuff like that. I am the oldest in my family. I have two siblings. What else? Well, let's talk about programming related stuff. So, as I've said to you guys many times before, be very careful when you listen to YouTubers or like influencers and stuff like that. Always go and check, like, if you're uncertain if this is a person worth hearing out or not. Especially, in my opinion, the influencers, because goddamn, there's a lot of influencers who basically, like, if you ask yourself, like, oh, if you have a YouTube channel that has like hundreds of thousands of people, are you do you reckon that the majority of their time is going to the coding? Now, maybe I'm just lazy, but I'm pretty sure that most of you can tell that the quality of my work is pretty shit in terms of like YouTube quality and stuff like that. Because I literally, like, I had a few questions just yesterday about why did I stop uploading to Spotify, and the answer is very simple: because Spotify doesn't have an API. because I automated the creation of these videos. Like I filmed the video and all the editing you see, like all that stuff is completely automated. I've made a little .NET application that basically does all of it for me with some manual steps in between there. And then I use chat, no, I can't remember what the name now is. It's OpenAI's audio to text API, and then I run a bunch of my videos there, so I can get like the questions as a title and stuff like that. So it's completely automated, and Spotify doesn't have anything like that. So there you go. That's the reason why the video is almost always the same, or why there might be some discrepancies here and there, and then there's no other editing. Like I'm literally just practicing my speech. As I've said before, these videos are not intended to become like something large or anything like that. Because what I do full time is that currently, like I usually, you can go to check my LinkedIn if you want to. I usually don't use any real names or company names or anything like that, because I want to be able to sort of speak my mind without impacting someone in a negative fashion or so forth and so forth. But I work as a principal engineer right now for a fairly large company, at least here by Scandinavian standards. And I've worked there for about a year, and most of my career has been, I've been both at small agencies as a software developer, and I've also been at startups, like very trendy-ish in my area, so to speak. And I've also been in like really large corporations, some of them fairly famous. And you, as I said, you can look at my LinkedIn. It's pretty much up to date if you want to see the full range of things I've been doing. And I've also run like my own startup with a few guys and stuff like that. My background as a programmer has been pretty much all over the map. Basically, I've done front-end development for several years. I've done back-end development for several years. I've also done mobile development for several years. What else can I say? Like my biggest, I would say, strengths are web-related things and so forth. I've done basically nothing in terms of like embedded systems or IoT or things like that, and I've only like dabbled and done like some boot camps. That's why I call people, you know, I've said the term bootcamp level developer. I am a bootcamp level developer in things such as machine learning, for example, because I'm by no means an expert. I think it's very interesting and I wanted to learn a little bit about it, so I learned about it. I've also done some basic stuff in security and pen testing and stuff like that. Nothing fancy whatsoever, because most of my career has been in the web space. And in that space, I would say that I've done quite a lot of different things. And so that's why I'm a principal engineer these days. So because my role basically, well, rather the job I got was due to the fact that they sort of needed, well, like the role in this specific company, because I've told you guys that as well, it depends a little bit on like which company you are. When you get over senior level, it's really can be really tricky to see. Like you can go to one company, and I did actually, where they said they had the same role description, but what for if all intents and purposes, when they said staff engineer, senior, or like a senior principal engineer, what they meant was a tech lead. Like you have one team. In this company, I have, well, last time I checked, 16 or 18 teams, and my basic job is literally know everything about everything. That is literally what it is. Like, because when the seniors in the various teams, because as we've talked about, senior means different things for different people, and there's quite a lot of seniors who, for example, in my specific company, we use a lot of Azure products and stuff like that, and most of them, like especially the front-end developers, in some cases, like they have shared libraries and stuff like that, where they don't really know how to use Azure DevOps and stuff like that. I've done this for so many years that like I sort of know how to help them, right? And the same thing goes for development projects and stuff like that, where like management wants me to build some shared library, or like we had one of the latest projects that I did was so they have, as you can imagine, everybody loves dashboards in corporate. Everybody. I've never been in a company where there was no one who said we need a dashboard. Everybody wants one. The tricky part, as I've always told them, is to get the metrics right, because getting all the data and catching all that and like having that be a realistic representation can be tricky. So they asked me to see if I could figure that out, and all I really did was to spin up a sleepy little API, which is like an Azure function, and I built a few clients. Like it was basically a .NET application that connects to the various APIs for the various platforms that we are working in, and gathers like metrics about, you know, how many bugs do people have, how long does it take for them to complete a pull request, how many cars are they getting through the pipelines, and things of that nature basically, and then pushing that to the API so that they could have like a little nice dashboard that shows them how like the health and coverage of code and stuff like that across the chapter. And then that core application became wrapped in an Azure function and an AWS Lambda and a few other platforms, so that it doesn't matter where you run the client, because you could in theory just post it yourself or build your own client. This was just for convenience, right? But those are the major things. So what I want you to take away from this is that I work as a principal software engineer. I live in Scandinavia, in Sweden. I am born and raised in Sweden. My place of living is Gothenburg. You can check it out. It's, as I said, it's the second largest city in the country, and Sweden might be size-wise pretty decent in terms of area, but there's it's not necessarily a large country or something you necessarily need to know about. But if you look it up, you should be able to get a feel for it. I think most of the Scandinavian, that's the thing that I really like about the Scandinavian countries at the very least, that based on my experiences, because I have family and friends and so forth from various parts of the Scandinavian countries, it's I'd like to think that we get along most of the time, and the general way of things look and work and so forth is very similar. I can imagine it's sort of similar to how the Great Britain and for North America and so forth, we're different states and so forth. There are differences here and there, but for the most part it feels kind of like home. The whole general area feels like home to me at the very least. And as I was saying, I work as a principal software engineer, live in a one-bedroom apartment, still the one that I bought when I first came to Gothenburg 10-20 years ago. Born 1987 January, if that's interesting. Not really sure what more what I can tell you, but for the most part, in my spare time and things like that, I play computer games. Right now I'm very much into Blender and 3D sculpting and things like that, so I'd like to do that. And then I do a lot of programming, as you can imagine, take different courses and so forth and so forth. And if you want to see specifics about my career as a software developer, you can go to my LinkedIn. It should be up to date. And I'm by no means an influencer. So the stuff that you are watching now, there is a very good reason as to why I'm not, there is no the quality is vastly different, because these videos I make were originally intended just to be something that I did for myself to practice teaching and oration and speaking and things like that, so that I could get them practicing on that, right? And then people started watching, which is of course very flattering to me, but the intent is not to make it as a YouTube or anything like that, and that's why there are no ads or anything like that. I'm literally just a software developer who has a side hobby, and you're watching my side hobby. Have a great day.